finishing up with the basic concept. And we will start with network architecture. So just a quick disclaimer, I'm not a network person, right? But this is just the basic ones that you will meet, right, in the job, be on the job as you work. So that's why I brought this in here. So I'll explain it to the best of my knowledge. I'm not a network person. We have people who are solely into networking. They know much about networking. Good. So this is a type of network architecture. We do have peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer, sometimes some of us, we've been doing that, right? We use like Bluetooth no, I think infrared, right? Infrared to send, I don't think it's now active anymore. No more, nowadays you don't do infrared, right? It used to be infrared. Maybe you want to send, when WhatsApp wasn't there, was infrared. You want to send a data to somebody's phone, connect the infrared and send it good. Or you can even connect two computers, right? Two computers, and you can send data to that computer or you connect them for them to communicate. So that is a peer-to-peer. Then we have a client server. So in a working environment, when you hear, oh, this connection is peer-to-peer, all that they are telling you is that connecting to computers, right, so that they can communicate. Then some of them can be client server architecture, right? So for client server, we have a centralized and a powerful computer called server, right? And mostly those servers are the ones that sit at the data center. So the server is able to connect to so many computers, right? And connect the server to a computer, and connect it to the phone, the laptop, desktop, right? So that server sits at the central part, right? And all other connections are connected to it. So these are the main type of network architecture. So the question is, why are we learning it, right? When you're performing security assessment, you want to know where the risk is going to be, right? So if the risk is going to be around the server, then it tells you that, right, since it is a central part, right, and it is connecting to different computers, anybody that have access to that central part can migrate or connect to other parts. So somebody is using a computer that is connected to the server and it is not well segmented. We'll learn about that, segmentation, segregation of network. So the person can go to the server, then from there use the opportunity to go to other places. That is why what we are learning this. So at least when you hear the network is a client server, then gives you that indication, oh, okay, there's a central part with other ones connected. So if it is not well partitioned, then there's a possibility that if an attacker comes into your environment, they can move from one end to another point. Good. So we have network topology. Network topology. So network is a collection of computers and other hardware components interconnected by communication channels that allow sharing of resources and information. So as the name sounds, if you can, when you join, try and mute yourself. And if you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask questions. Thank you. Good. So as the name sounds, networking, right? Network. So things that are connected, right? So connecting computers to hardware or connecting computers to the internet, either through a Wi-Fi or through a cable, right? So that a communication can go on. So that is what networking does. And mostly networking helps to sharing of resources and data. So we have four main, or it can be four main or five main types of network topography. You have the bar system, you have the star system, the ring system, then partially mesh or fully mesh. Each of them has its own advantage and disadvantage. So I have this pictorial pictures to explain into details. So let's take the bar system, right? This is a common bar. You can see that this computer over here, right, is connected to this computer. Before this computer, can communicate to the computer somewhere here, he has to come here, right, join the bus or join the main communication channel before they communicate. Or sometimes they may have to go up to this side, come down, go to another side before it goes there, right? So the disadvantage here is that whenever there is a break in the communication somewhere here, means that one side of the computer cannot communicate with the other. That is a disadvantage. And it's basically cheaper and commonly used for those of us that we've had experience back home in Africa. When this internet cafe was coming, most of them were using the bar system, right? It's easy, run them. So when one computer goes off, you know, it's affecting other people. One computer cannot communicate with others. Then we have the ring, right? The ring, they are all connected in a circular form, right? But if this computer down here wants to communicate with the one up there, it has to either go through this other computers, right, before it can communicate, right? So it takes a long time for the communication to reach the other computer. Then we do have the star. So for the star, we have the server in the middle, right? That all communication goes through the server before it goes to other computers. So if the central part is down, the server is down, means that the communication cannot happen between the computers. That is its disadvantage. We have the partially meshed, right? Partially meshed, not all the computers are connected, right? Which is okay, right? It's not really expensive. It is expensive, but not really expensive. But if you want the best of it all, it is fully meshed one, right? You can see that each computer is communicating with each other. So if a computer is here and the computer wants to communicate with this, it doesn't need to go through this side. It can go straight to that computer. And this is the type that most of the corporate entities are using. So always their internet is very, very fast, right? There are no delays. So these are just to give you some basic information about network topology, right? So if you are working within a federal environment and it's, the company is using a fully meshed, then have that thing in mind that, okay, fully meshed means that all the computers are connected, are communicating directly with each other, right? So that is the essence of it. So when you hear the term, it wouldn't be new to you. Then we also have types of network. We have the local area network. We can popularly call it LAN. So you hear this term a lot. And these are the people that you'll be working with a lot, right? And those people we call them, LAN administrators. When you hear somebody is a LAN administrator, it's not like a LAN, right? It's a LAN, local area network administrator. So this is used in our home. So those local area administrators, they manage the companies with the network, right? And the office network, the wiring, how it's connected to each other, connected to systems, connected to the server. The LAN administrators mostly work on that. Then we have WLAN, or wireless local area network. That is mostly what we have at home, right? Our homes, we have a wireless local area network. So your TV is connected to your wireless, your phone, your doorbell, they are all connected. It's a local area, but this is using the Wi-Fi. We also have campus area network. So campus area network, let's say you are a student of University of Houston, right? University of Houston has so many campuses, right? And you have the campus like computer. Then you move from one campus to another campus, right? When you get there, you don't need to reconnect your network because it is campus area network. When you get to different campus, automatically your wireless picks it up and it starts working, right? Means that all the campuses are connected. The buildings are connected within each area, or they are mostly within the same area. Like my university that I work, right? Anytime I go to any of our clinics and I open my PC, all that I need is just to log in my password and I'm connected to the network, right? And I don't even, because it's a campus area, I don't even need to go through VPN because it is within the same campus. And we have clinics all over Houston. Some of them are like, 25 miles away. But when I go there, I don't need to log in. That is a campus area network. Then we have the MAN, Metropolitan Area Network, right? Mostly used to connect cities, right? So let's say Houston is connecting to Austin, Houston is connecting to Chicago, connecting cities. Then we have the Wide Area Network. That is the internet, www, right? Connecting countries and connecting everybody. So these are the various types of network, right? So when you hear, oh, we are using LAN, we are using WLAN, we are using CAN, we are using MAN, these are the terms that you hear often. So just have that in mind. So these are just the pictures just to show you a local area network. This is a typical office floor. You can see there's maybe like a server over here. There's a router over here. There's I think it's a router. There you can see a printer. They are all connected. Most of the time local area network in the offices you use a wire, right? The cables. I used to have some here. I think in my back up there, right? So see those of us who are kind of old school a little bit, until the Wi-Fi became common, right? Our houses, even when we are connecting our computers, we use some cables. If you remember, or our office, you need that the port. Even current computers, you don't even see the ports over here, right? Because of the Wi-Fi. Just connect that jack into your PC, then you put it in a socket on the wall, right? That's what most of the local area networks are. But now they are using the WAN and the Wi-Fi. So there's a metropolitan connecting cities, then the CAN connecting campuses, then the wide area network, that is the internet, popularly called the internet. Good. And also you'll be hearing a lot about IP. The IP address here, whenever you hear IP can stand for intellectual property, but within the context, when you hear IP address, they are talking about internet address or internet, the full name is Internet Protocol Address. So as you're sitting at your home right now, connected to the internet, your internet at your home has an address. That is why bad people or the hackers, when they break into people's computer, they are able to locate them where they are coming from. Because every internet protocol has an address or have an address, right? That is unique to the environment. So that is IP for you. So IP supports unique addressing for computers on a network. So IP packets contain source and destination information. So when you talk about IP packets, like most of the time communication, it goes in packets, right? So as it starts from, they have a source where it is starting from and a destination where it's going, right? But those people who are into networking will understand that. I'm not, like I said, I'm not good at networking. I bought a huge book. I wanted to really understand networking, but I still find it challenging to understand because that is not my area. But at least having the basic concept is okay. Then we call something that is called switch. Switch is a small hardware device that joins multiple computers together within one local area network, right? So when you have a switch, so switch mostly does a forward message based on MAC address, right? And we'll talk about OSI layer later on, level 2, and we'll talk about OSI. So the switch, the role of the switch is that when a message comes, the switch is able to detect that this message belongs to this specific computer, right? Every computer has an address called MAC address, right? So when your email lands on the network, your Wi-Fi, right? Now I'm even told that Wi-Fi, now we don't have switch separate. They build a switch in between in the routers or in the Wi-Fi box. So when it lands in the box, it's able to know that, oh, okay, this particular message belongs to this computer, right? That is the work of the switch. And the routers, they are small physical devices that join multiple networks together, right? So they join the local area network, they forward message based on IP, right? So remember, the switch forward message based on the MAC address, but a router forward message based on IP. That is why we have the internet routers in our house, right?
Excuse me. Mr. Alex, what's the meaning of MAC? MAC address?
MAC.
Yeah.
I think it's a machine. Let me search for it.
Okay.
We can just Google it fast. Like I said, I'm not.
It's called media access control number, something like that. Media access control.
Kingsley is a network man.
Okay.
MAC address. I'm just Googling it, right? We'll learn about Google being our friend, right? Yeah, so it's media access control. Thank you. Kingsley said it, media access control. So, and it says that it's a unique 12-character alphanumeric attribute that is used to identify individual electronic device on a network, right? So the electronic device may be your phone. Your phone too has a MAC address. Your doorbell has a MAC address, right? So it identifies that based on the message that is the switch that is able to identify that. But for the router, right, it identifies which IP it should send to, right? So if I send a message that I'm targeting Charles in his house, right, the message is the router is able to know the type of IP it should go. Remember, IPs have what? Source and destination, right? So the source is coming from me, and it's able to the router is able to help do that. Okay, this belongs to this particular person, and it goes there. So you hear of this a couple of times. Now, intrusion detection system. Intrusion detection system. This is more security now. So it can be a software or a hardware used within computers. That is, if it is a software that is it is installed on the computer, it becomes a host base, or or a network that is it is installed on the network becomes a network IPS to identify possible security breaches. That is what intrusion detection hackers is that mostly when they develop the network, right? Every network has, a well-developed network. It's not every, but let me just qualify that, right? A network in a corporate environment, they try to have an external firewall, right? We will learn about firewall today. So the firewall determines what type of traffic should come to our environment and what type of traffic should go out of our environment. So they place the IDS behind the firewall such that anytime somebody is able to bypass the firewall and it comes to your network, there's a place called DMZ. Before they get to the DMZ, you get an alert that there is a bad person coming to your network, right? And you hear a lot about IDS. So it's an intrusion detection system, just to give you an alert that there is a bad person coming to your network. That is the role of that. And like I said, it can be a host-based or a network-based. Good. And it can also be a software that is installed, or it can be a hardware itself, which is also which is on the network. Then we have intrusion prevention system. Let me correct myself here. Most of the time, the detection is mostly in the inner side of the network. I'll demonstrate that when we get to the firewall. So let me explain it as a test. So the intrusion prevention prevents the hacker, right? So let's say mostly, like I said, the other one sits in the inner perimeter firewall, but the prevention sits just after the outer perimeter firewall. I'll demonstrate that right now. So you see the picture of it. So if somebody is able to bypass the firewall, the intrusion prevention system will block them, block the people, block them. Anytime the hacker is trying to come to your environment, it will block them. So that it doesn't give them the chance to come to your network, right? This can also be a network-based or host-based. So that is IPS. And you will hear terms like defense in depth. Defense in depth. So some people call it layer security, right? Layer security or defense in depth. So defense in depth is multiple layers of security countermeasures to protect the integrity of an information asset in an enterprise, right? A typical example is, let's say, you want to protect confidential data on your environment. What do? Right? First layer of security is that you can have security guards at the entrance of the building, right? The next layer of security will be that maybe you have this tailgating, right? If you have been to American embassy, right, or any highly secure areas, right, the door is made in such a way that two people cannot go through at a time, right? There's this bar across, so when one person goes, it flips, right? It regulates the number of people. So those are security, physical security. Then when you come into the inner perimeter, probably you will need an access to enter into the building. That is another layer of security. Then where that confidential data is the data center, you require another level of security to enter that data center, right? And when you get to the network of the company, right, you require username and password to access that particular data, right? So that multiple layers of security just to protect that data becomes defense in depth. So whenever you hear defense in depth or layer security, or that is all, that's what it means that that you put multiple measures, right?
The speaker.
Please, if your place is noisy, mute yourself. I keep muting some people, but they just unmute themselves. So please unmute yourself only when you want to ask a question so that we don't disturb the class. Then we have defense in breadth. Defense in breadth. It means that a comprehensive security strategy for protecting information system over the life cycle, right, of the product or the system, right, that is designed or developed or manufactured. So during the design, during the development, the manufacturing, the packaging, assembling, integration, distribution, operation, maintenance, so retirement. So let's say this is a phone, right? It's a system. So if you are applying defense in breadth, you don't wait till the phone is fully developed before you say, oh, I think we should add password to it. I think it should require some facial recognition before you can enter the phone. No, defense in breadth is saying that at every stage of the development of the application, or at every stage of the development of a system, consider security. So during the design of a system, think about security. During the development of the system, think about security. When you are manufacturing, think about security. When you are packaging it, think about security. When that system has to integrate with another system, think about security. So every stage of the development of a system, think about security. Until the system is what? Decommissioned or retired. You don't need a system anymore. So whenever you hear defense in breadth, that is all that it means. So every system has what you call system development life cycle. So defense in breadth at the development stages of that system, consider security. So these are very, very important terms that you meet them every day, especially even if you work within the federal environment. They will be mentioning it all the time. Good. Or they will ask you, have you considered, did you go through defense in depth or defense in breadth? You keep on repeating that. So we have what you call anti-spam. Anti-spam filter. So a spam filter is a program that is used to detect unsolicited and unwanted emails and prevent those messages from getting into your inbox. So that is another software for you. If they install it on your network, any spam email that is coming to your system, especially the corporate environment, anti-spam will block them. They won't let you have it. Firewall. I mentioned firewall very soon. So I always use this analogy. If you forget about firewall, remember when you travel, let's say you go to another country or you're going to UK, right? As soon as you land from the plane, you go through immigration. You don't just go straight and pick up your bag and go, right? The immigration officer is going to determine whether you have the right to come to UK or right not to come, right? That is exactly how firewalls, that's how they work, right? So the firewall, all that they do is that we have what we call rule-based access control. You set your rules that in my environment, I only allow secure communication coming from reputable IP address. Remember, IP address is Internet Protocol, right? So your rule base will determine that, okay, this communication that is coming, probably is coming from China, but it doesn't look legitimate, then the firewall will block it. Firewall will prevent it from coming based on the rule that you have set, right? So you can see that this is like an outside, this is the internet, the one, right? Then we have the LAN, the local area, that is the private network, your private network. But the one is the what? Is the worldwide network. You just learn about the one, right? Is the worldwide, the internet outside. I mean, everybody is internet, right? Outside the internet. But when it comes here, behind the firewall is your local network. It can be a one, it can be a LAN, or it can be a one. That is if you're using Wi-Fi or WLAN, right? Wi-Fi. So this is your network, but this is the outside, the public internet. So the firewall sits in between. That is the work of a firewall. So you hear a lot about firewalls as well. Good.
Sorry, let me ask something.
Please go ahead.
How does the firewall determine who gets the access to your computer? Is it by the information you saved or you input on the firewall? How does the firewall know the bad information coming in or the good one?
Very good. So I talked about rule-based, right? We call it RUBAC, rule-based access control, right? So the firewall, you set the rules for the firewall,
okay,
right? And let them know that, look, any IP that shows that it is coming from this country or it's coming from this, allow only IP that is recognized. Like I'm using like internet protocols, right? There's a range. So you set the rule that these are the only IP that I trust to let them come to my network. But any IP that shows that it's coming from Ukraine or Kazakhstan or Russia, don't allow it.
okay.
It's a rule that you set within your computer. So that rule is able to know which one is legit and which one is not legit. So we have a network security guy, and that is their specialty, and they know how they set the rules. But the reason, I mean,
Yeah.
my interest here.
Can I inject something?
Okay, come. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sir, concerning your question.
Guy, so
yeah, concerning your
ahead.
question about how the intrusion detection devices work, right?
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Firewalls. About how the firewalls work.
Okay.
Network people, they go there and the system administrators, they go and set the rules. Sometimes they set the rules, depending on what the company wants. We don't want this IP, we don't want that IP. Now, when they set those conditions, unwanted traffic cannot come in. But these days, they have advanced firewalls these days that use artificial intelligence. When they see different patterns, okay, it has it runs an algorithm that when they see patterns of traffic from overseas that are not allowed, they will drop those traffic.
Yeah.
They use artificial intelligence sometimes, So these apps, they learn behaviors that are outside of the normal. Let's say somebody logging in from, you're logging in from where you're not supposed to log in.
Yeah.
They drop the traffic. So
that is correct. And what Kingsley just talked about, mostly they call it next gen firewall, next generation, right? And they are using artificial intelligence, right, AI, to study the behavior of the communication. So when they see that, no, this is not allowed, it looks suspicious, they just block you, right? Good.
All right, I got it.
Any more? Hello, Vincent. Oh, was there any question?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good one. So let's continue. We have DMZ, and you hear this word a lot, DMZ, as we work. And the thing is, we work with network security guys, access and identity management engineers. We work with them all the time. So some of these terms you're going to hear a lot. So, and when you hear it, don't panic, right? That is their area, right? Sometimes people, like one of my students said, he went for a meeting, they were talking, and he didn't understand anything. And I laughed. I said, yes. Even with me, I have my master's in cybersecurity. I have all these certifications. Sometimes I go to a meeting and I ask myself, what were they saying? So sometimes I also do a presentation and they're like, what are you saying? Nobody knows everything, right? They understand their English. We also understand our English, but there are some basic terms like DMZ. You should be familiar with it. So DMZ is demilitarized zone, right? Demilitarized zone. So it's a computer or small subnet that sits between a trusted internal network, that is a local area network, such as a corporate LAN, yes, and untrusted external network, such as the public internet. And it is made up of proxy server, web server, email server, DNS server, authentication server. So this area is a DMZ. So if you try to picture what a DMZ is, right, and you have traveled out of the USA before by land, or you have traveled out of your country to other country by land, or even if you haven't done that, remember President Trump met South Korea president at a place called between North Korea and South Korea at a place that is called DMZ zone, right? DMZ zone is like no man's land. It's like no man's land. So it is an area on the network that is reserved, right? So they are sitting between the trusted network, that's your corporate network, and untrusted network, that is the public or the internet, right? That is where they put those DMZ servers are, right? An area on the network that is reserved, right, for these servers to sit. They are sitting between the trusted network, that's your corporate network, and untrusted network, that is the public or the internet, right? That is where they put those DMZ servers are, right? And I was talking about intrusion detection and intrusion prevention. Let me do some small illustration over here, what I was talking about, right? So I'm going to use a pen. So most of the time, so this is the untrusted network, that is the public network, the internet, right? And we have the perimeter firewall. So most of the time when they are configuring the network, they put the IPS here. The IPS will sit here on the network. So we have here. So IPS will sit at this side. So in this case, if we're talking about this is a firewall. If there is a communication that is able to bypass your rule, it will hit the IPS here and give you an alert that somebody has been able to bypass your firewall. So that is IPS. Then they put another one here, that is IDS, right? So IDS the role, and it sits between the corporate, the trusted network, and the inner perimeter or the inner firewall. So that if the hacker is able to bypass all these controls, right, and comes here, IDS will give you access, right? So let me ask you a question. Just think about it and give me an answer. I'll talk about it today, right? When a company, if a company has a firewall, then it has IPS, and it has again another firewall and another IDS. What type of security is the company practicing? I talked about it today. Has somebody tried?
Security in depth.
You said say it well. You have
Security in depth or layer security.
Layer security, right? Layer security, defense in depth. Layer security, you can see that they put layers of security. The key thing is that you are assuming that one can fail, right? So if one fails, the other should be able to what? Prevent an intruder to come into your network. So anyway, so that is how IPS and IDS work. Good. Let's continue. Meditation. Okay. Good. Now let's move on. IoT. And it is becoming a household word. IoT, Internet of Things. So this, I actually added this not long ago, this term, because it's happening. So when we talk about Internet of Things, it's a system of interrelated computer devices and mechanical and digital machines, objects, animals, or people that are provided with unique identifiers, right? That is UID, and the ability to transfer data from over a network without requiring human to human or human to machine interaction. A typical example is your doorbell, right? When you put your doorbell camera, the Ring doorbell at the entrance of your door, and somebody passes, automatically that's what? It takes the signal and communicates to you that somebody is passing at the front door, right? Or somebody comes to your entrance, it takes it and communicates with you. You don't need to go and activate before it gives you that alert. So that is an IoT. And it has become another source of security threat, right? Because when people noticed IoTs were fetching a lot of money, people started developing all sorts of IoT. IoT, a friend of mine, his house is fully automated, right? He used to work in New York, and the wife and the family is in Houston. He could be at New York and regulate his sprinkler. Then you turn on his camera on his phone, he turn it on, and you see whether the sprinklers are working, right? He could use his phone to lock his house and open the house. Those are IoT. But the biggest security problem is that those who develop them, some of them are not up to speed with updating the system. Some of them, they develop a system and that's it. All that they know is that they are using it to collect, they are selling it and people are buying it. So it has a huge security implication as well. So when you come to my house, right, and you want to connect to my network, now I'll connect you to my guest network. I have segmented my network, right, where I connect my computer, things that are via my phone, things that we do serious business with, they are my main network. But the ones that my TV, my doorbell, and those things, I put them on a guest network, right? Because TV is an IoT, doorbell is IoT, right? I put them on. So we need to segment them. So if somebody breaks into my network, the person will confine themselves. They'll be restricted to only the guest network. So IoTs are also emerging security threats. So it's good for us to be aware of it. So a thing in the Internet of Things can be a person with a heart monitor implant. So some of us are going to work within the healthcare environment, and you're a security person, analyst, right? And your doctors are using implant monitors. It's an IoT. So how do you ensure that these IoTs are secured, right? So that no hacker will break into the implant and start regulating people's heart. No, those implants are in the heart. They place it in the heart and regulate your heart flow. So if a hacker breaks into that, they're able to manipulate that. So as a security analyst, the best thing is for companies to have an IoT network where you place all these IoTs there. Some farm animals, they put this biochip on them. Car, right? Sometimes you are driving your car and you see a sign, a caution sign on it, right? Those are all IoT, just to give you an information. Man-made objects that can be assigned an IP address and able to transfer data over the network, like I talk about doorbells, right? Those are all IoT, and they also present some security challenges. So if you want to read more about IoTs, I have a link here for you. Now let's talk briefly about cryptography, right? This is just a high level. I don't expect you to know details about cryptography. No. In our work, what we're going to do, I'm bringing this in because of people saying the term. What we're going to do, we'll learn about that later, right? If so we encrypt our data, what type of encryption are they using, right? We encrypt our data in transit. What type of data? That is where we are interested. We don't go deep, but at least it's good as you are beginning in security to have these terms at hand. So cryptography is most often associated with scrambling plain text, right? The text like you can see on the screen, right? They are called clear text or plain text into a cipher text in a process called encryption. Then back again, known as decryption. So a plain text like this, you mix it with a cipher, it becomes encrypted. Then you apply, you can turn it back again, take the cipher or apply a key, then it becomes plain text again. That is what we call encryption. So there are three types of algorithms that we use to encrypt data. One can be hashing, it can be symmetric, then it can also be asymmetric, right? So when you hear hashing mostly what they use hash for is that people develop software. Let's say I've developed WhatsApp, okay? I hash the WhatsApp software with keys. So if somebody buys my application and the person wants to see that this application is authentic, you go to my website and they should be able to see the hash key. Then when they run it, you should be able to get the same key on that application. But when you run it and you get a different key, then it tells you that somebody has broken the integrity of the application, or somebody has inserted some code into that application. That's what we call hashing. Then we have symmetric. Symmetric is encrypting data that uses only one key, right? We use what you call one key or private key, right? So I use my key to encrypt data. I want to send it to Levy, right? I encrypt it with my key. Then I use another alternative way to send the key to Levy. I used to use that one a lot. I remember when I started security and when I got a job and they were asking me for my social security numbers. I mean, you can do it. It's very easy, right? I created a Word document, then pasted my social security card on it. Then when you go to, I think when you are saving it for settings, you can put password on it, right? So after I do that, then I send it to them, send it to whoever I was talking to. Then later I text the password to the person. So when the person gets the email, they will click it. It requires key. Then the key, they look at it on their phone, they enter the password, and they get access to the document. That is symmetric, one key, private key. But asymmetric, we use what we call a two key, right? Both public and private. So if you are into encryption, your public key is already public. It's published. Everybody can see your public key, right? But you alone have your private key. So if I want to send something to MJ, I'll use MJ's what? Public key to encrypt it. But it is only MJ's what? Key, private key that she can use to encrypt it and see what I was trying to communicate to her, to MJ, sorry. So these are all, and there are so many types, right? So for the symmetric, we have the AES, and that is a golden standard, right? AES, we have 128 bit and 256 bit. So 256 bit is the most important, I mean, the most secured one. We learn about NIST standard. NIST recommend 256 bit. DES, IDS, two-phase, what have you. You don't need to keep these things, right? You don't need to keep them unless you are studying for certification. Then you will learn it. The asymmetric, we have the RSA, Algamer, elliptic curve, the Herman. These are all types. So modern cryptography concerns itself with the following four objectives. So when it comes to why are we doing cryptography? One is about confidentiality, right? We want to keep information confidential. If it is encrypted, all that you see is chat. Along the way, I'll show you. I mean, I have a software that I use to run my network to see whether people are listening to my network or not. But this communication that we are doing, right, because it's encrypted, when people see, they don't see any meaningful thing. All that they see is like numeric numbers and mixed up ciphers. You don't see anything, right? It also helps keep the integrity. I talked about the hashing. So that if somebody tries to imitate your software and people run the hash, they'll be able to know that no, this is an imitation. This is not authentic one. Also for non-repudiation, right? So if you digitally sign with your ID, you cannot say that, oh, I didn't do that. I have no idea about it. That is because you use a digital signature, or you digitally sign with a system with an encryption ID, you cannot reproduce. Authentication, right? You want to know the real person, that okay, this is really coming from Nana. This is really coming from Steven. Authentication, so that you'll be able to know it's coming from the right person, right? Like I said, it's good to have this basic knowledge about encryption, but we are not going to go deep. So those of you who are confused, now don't worry about that. So these are the two types of cryptographic processes. Like one is a symmetric. I just gave you an example. Alice wants to send message to Bob, right? Alice is using the symmetric, just like I said. I encrypt it with words, then I use another medium to send a key. So Alice say hello world. It's a plain text. So Alice will use a private key or the secret key to encrypt the data, and it becomes cipher text like this. when you see $7, the big dollar, GFRCO, it doesn't make sense, right? So if you're a hacker, you even see it doesn't make sense to you. So Alex sent this to Bob. Bob receives it. Then Alex looks for another medium to send the key to Bob. Then Bob will get the key, then open to decrypt that message, and you will see, oh, Alex was trying to tell me that hello world, right? That is one key, symmetric. But the asymmetric key, right? Bob wants to reply Alex, and he says, okay, I'll use a symmetric key. Or Bob is sending message to Alex, right? He says, I'm going to use asymmetric, right? Bob is going to use Alex's public key that is published online, right, to encrypt that data. But Alex has her own private key. So when Bob uses Alex's public key, he encrypts the data. It becomes something like this. Alex receives it, and Alex will use her private key to decrypt it. So that is how encryption works. So I remember when I was starting security, this was really confusing to me, but as I studied, it became clearer to me. So if you're not getting it, don't be hard on yourself, okay? I'll explain why we need this encryption. But the key thing is that when we get there, when we are doing a model and we are testing security controls, we want to see data that is being sent from one end to another end through the public network. Is it encrypted? If it is encrypted, what type of encryption are they using? Well, then about TLS 1.2, 1.3, that is the golden standard. If the data is at rest, it's sitting at the data center, nobody is touching it. But because we know hackers are trying to come into our environment, we don't want it to be a plain text so that they come and steal it away. So we encrypt it with AES, 256-bit. So that is what we look for. So, okay, I encrypt data at rest. What type of encryption key do you use? AES, 256-bit. Perfect, that's all that you're looking for. So we are not going to go through that technicality, right? Good. So I have what here, OSI model. I'm going to run through quick because I'm not a network guy, and I mean, I just want you to have a fair idea about the OSI model. So this is a network communication or like a network diagram, how network, the composition of a network, right? It starts with, somebody put it in a simpler form, they call it, please do not throw sausage pizza away. It starts from the bottom, right? The bottom is the physical. I will tell you the reason why we need to be familiar. We just need to be familiar with it, all because we know we are interested in the security side. So it starts with what we call a physical layer, right? Then it moves to a data link, the network, transport, session, presentation, and application, right? So that's why I say, please do not throw sausage pizza away. But as security analysts, why are we interested in knowing this OSI model, right? OSI model is telling you the physical side mostly talks about where the media is, the cable, the repeaters, those physical things that you can see, right? So security person, what is your interest? Your interest is that you want to make sure that the closest where these physical machines or things are there are secure. Now nobody can break in and pull some wire. But the moment you start pulling some wires, it's going to affect your network. So physical security also comes into mind over here. Data link, that is where the switch is, right? So you look at, so here we have the internet, that is the VLAN, the virtual local area, the Wi-Fi. So also here we think about the same security, people not having access to your network. Then we have the network side. We have the IP. The IP is what? What is IP?
Internet protocol.
Internet protocol, right? That is where your internet protocols are. We want to make sure that communication that goes through here, through the IP, it goes through the firewall. You can see the firewall here. There's a router here. The router, right? It gives it sends message to the what? The right IP, right? The switches are sending the messages to the right computer, right? And it is secure. That's where our interest is. Then transport, we have the TCP, UDP. That is where mostly data is transferred from one end to another. We have the session area. Then we have the presentation. Then the application. Application is mostly what we see. The WebEx that we are seeing here, that is mostly what we use. Is it going through FTP? Is it going through Telnet? Is it going through SSH? Is it going through HTTP? Right? And now security, we are interested. So when it's going through FTP, we want to make sure it goes through a secure one. So we use SFTP. Telnet, no, it's not accepted. SSH, we'll learn about that later. I'll give you a document that talks about transmission security. SSH is connecting two computers through a secure means. HTTP. So HTTP is when you go to your internet and you log in www.com or amazon.com. If you notice and you go to the browser, you see that. Let me see if I can show this. Let me move this one here and show you a quick one. What HTTP is. Let me share with you content. Where is that screen? This one. Good. So if you look at this screen, right, and you look here, you can see that the padlock, right, is locked, right? So here is the HTTP. If the padlock is not locked and it is open, right, that is just normal HTTP. But because they have applied security to it, now the padlock is what? It's closed. So you see that the connection is secure. But if I can't think of any network that is not secure. Some time ago, I used to use the Ghana government, the seat of the president network. It wasn't secure. So I met the president of Ghana. He came here and we were talking about they needed some cyber security guys. So they mentioned my name. So I had an opportunity to meet him in Houston here. And I was telling him, look, the first time before I even talk to you, you should go to the president's website. Those of you, if you have tried it before, Ghana president. You go there, I said, sure, this is the first thing I will tell you that you tell your people to do. Your website is not secure. I can go there and deface it right now, and people cannot even, nobody will be able to know what I've done, right? So it initially wasn't, I used to use that one as an example to my students, but when I talked to them, I think the next day, they corrected it. I think they talked to the people back home, they applied the TLS. So you see that is, so the one that is not secure, it just uses HTTP. Now if it's secure, it becomes HTTPS, right? Anyway, let's go on. So that is where our interest is. So we look at those areas, like anytime we could be talking about OSI model, each of the steps you think about security, what role does security have to play? Good. So this is just another explanation. It gives you a lot of information about that. You don't need to bother yourself about it, but just for your knowledge at this time. Good. So now let's go into basic concept of IT risk. Basic IT risk concept. This is just a teaser. It's just a teaser. I have an unwanted person here. Let me take him up. just a teaser for what is coming this Saturday, right? So this is just a teaser. So I want you to have something for you to think about. Now, risk. Risk. What is risk? Risk is the possibility of a threat exploiting a vulnerability resulting in a loss, right? So the work we are going to do a lot of risk. This is a risk. Oh, this is a risk to my company. This is a risk to my company. What does the risk mean, right? So risk is made up of what? Asset, threat, and vulnerability. I have an asset here. This is my phone. It's an asset, right? I use it for my business. Most of you called me on my line. I use it for business. I use it for personal things. It's an asset to me, right? Then this phone, people try to what? Can try to break in. That is a threat. It's connected to the internet. External threat. Then this phone too also has a weakness. If I should leave it right now and it drops, it's going to what? It's going to break. iOS. Those of you using iOS, I don't know whether recently you received a message that you should update it to 16 point something something. If you haven't done that, do that tonight, right? There is a bug before exploiting it now, right? If you're using iPhone, right? That is a weakness. I've been able to see that there's a weakness that people are able to use it for remote execution. That is the previous version, right? So I did my update about a week ago, right? So that is a weakness. Besides that software weakness, it also has what? A physical weakness. So when we talk about risk, so what is the probability that an external hacker, bad person, can take advantage of the weakness within my phone and exploit my phone, exploit my data, and use it against me? That is all that we do in cybersecurity. I mean, the risk management. So we're going to learn about how to identify threats as a security analyst. So when I come to my environment, I come to your company, and I'm performing security assessment, how will I be able to identify those threats that can affect your environment? And if I identify the threat, what are the vulnerabilities, right? The weaknesses associated with your system that the threat can take advantage of and compromise your environment, right? Compromise your data. That is your asset, your reputation, right? The high-end brand you have won. You don't want anybody to tarnish that brand. It's an asset, your reputation, your data, your confidential data. So our work is to make sure that we are able to identify all possible threats, all possible weaknesses, and all possible confidential data that we are interested in. Then the next step will be, how do we protect it from getting exploited, allowing it to be exploited, right? So that is what we're going to do, and it is so interesting and it's so exciting. So after you have identified a threat, yes, Kingsley.
Yes, I have a question. In this role you are training us for, which is security analyst, does it involve penetration testing, or do companies have a dedicated, do they have dedicated penetration testers, or is it part of, cybersecurity analyst role you are training us for?
Very good. So let me come in. In security alone, right, we have about 32 disciplines. Security alone. We have forensic, administration, vulnerability testing, data recovery, risk management, audit. There's so many rules. There are so many rules here, but we are not doing penetration testing, right? We are not doing penetration testing. We are not doing vulnerability scanning. We are learning how to perform information security risk assessment, how to audit an information system to be able to know where the weaknesses are and make recommendations for them to fix. That is
Thank
what
you.
we have. It's not penetration testing.
Thank you.
Good. So those penetration testing, those ones are very technical. You need to understand certain terms, and if I should bring it here, I'm sure by the time the next class, I'll have only few people joining me, right? Our people will be confused, so we are not going to do that. Very good. Okay, let's continue. So after we have identified the risk, that is, we know the threat, we know the vulnerability, we know our assets we are protecting, right? What do? The next step is to what? Mitigation. Risk mitigation means that you want to reduce the risk so that the chances that the threat can take advantage of that weakness will not happen, right? That is risk mitigation. Reduce risk by the chance that the threat will exploit what? The vulnerability. When you hear vulnerability, it's just talking about weakness, right? So what do? We develop controls. We're going to go deep into that, but this is just to give you something to start thinking about, right? So controls are actions that are taken to reduce risk. So you have performed security assessment, you have noticed that, oh, these are the weaknesses, these are the potential threats, this is the asset I'm trying to protect. So what should I do now? Now, let me take action so that I'll prevent this from happening. You develop controls. So it means, okay, I noticed that my computer, when we did assessment, the company has one computer that everybody can just log in and use it. We don't know if somebody goes in, we don't know who used the computer. That is a risk. There's no non-repudiation. Something happened, somebody says, it's not me, not me. And you can't tie it to anybody, right? So what do? Let's put a control. Now, if you come and you're logging into this computer, you require username and password. That is a control. You have reduced the risk of people exploiting non-repudiation. You have reduced the risk of people serving as a threat to do bad things where they can say that it wasn't them, but they placed it on somebody, right? So that is control. So we'll learn about that, and it's a huge thing. I have a slide that I call it understanding controls. If you understand the controls are many, we'll learn about them, right? We have a control family. We have the family itself. It's 20 of them. Access control, awareness and training, audit, configuration management, access and identity, PII, system, configuration, and lots of them, 20 of them. But if you say it like this, you forget it. I mean, you will be confused. But when you actually learn it bit by bit, see that it becomes very clear to you. And even as you perform the assessment, it's not like you just get up and say, okay, let me select these controls to help mitigate the risk. No, there's a process that we follow. We follow a certain process to be able to select appropriate controls to protect the system for you. So you're going to learn all that. We'll do practical way how to select those controls. First, you learn how to categorize the system, know the type of impact that if there's a weakness to it or there's somebody breaks into it, the impact that is going to be, then you'll be able to follow another process to select specific controls to protect that system. Next is corrective action. So corrective actions like, okay, after you have identified the risk, right, what is next? You need to have some measures, processes that you follow to be able to fix those risks that have been identified, right? So these are steps that are taken to address existing non-conformity. The risks that we have identified need to have some process. We'll learn about that. In the federal environment, we call something POEM, Plan of Action and Milestone. How do you develop that? You're going to learn all about that. So it's more like a problem-solving process. So it's something that we're going to learn. So like I said, this is just a teaser. So make sure you are around coming Saturday. And even if you have to go to work or some commitment, make sure you watch the video and follow the trend. Good. Security policy. So we'll be learning a lot. I mean, those are the governance side, right? Security policy, very, very important. So we have a policy statement, an information security policy statement, expresses management commitment to the implementation, maintenance, and improvement of its information security management system. Every company that is serious as having security, implementing security, they need to have a security policy. Some few months ago, I tried to pick up another job, and this company that I was working for, they had nothing. I have to develop security policies from the scratch for them, right? And I wasn't doing anything, but I just stopped that way. So you may get a job that they ask you to develop policy. I'll guide you on that, and it's very easy, right? So what is a policy? A policy is a policy statement defines general commitment, direction, and intention. So companies must say that, okay, this is our commitment, this is our direction when it comes to security, this is what we want to do. So they need to have a policy. Procedure is a control, it controls processes or activity, right? As the name sounds, a procedure. We follow a process or activity, right? A detailed procedure defines the work that should be done, explains how it should be done, and who should do it, and under what circumstances, right? So you hear a lot about policies and procedures. Standard is a set of rules that control how people develop and manage materials, products, services, technology, tasks, processes, and systems. So most of the time, you're performing a security assessment. We are saying that policy statement shows about management commitment, right? So if you are performing security assessment and they say, oh, we make sure that everybody that have access to our system has username and password. You are not there to see whether they are doing that, right? But their policy should be able to give you that information that when you take any access to a system, they need to go through, they must follow a policy. So whoever goes, contrary to a policy means that they are not doing their work well or they are breaching the policy and it has its own consequences. So most of assessment that we do, we ask for a policy document to support what they are saying, right? We ask for their procedure document to support that they are really doing this, what they follow, A, B, C, D to do it. Standard operative SOP, right? What is the standard, right? What rule controls how people should use this product? So these are all evidence documents that we mostly collect as we perform security assessment. So this is just a high level about the basics, about most of the terms we are going to meet. We are now going to an interesting part. All right, coming Saturday, we're going to start with information security risk management. By the end of Saturday's class, anytime you see a job description, so we are looking for information security analysts who will perform security risk assessment, and you see the job description, you should be able to give you the concept about what they are looking for and the type of work or the role you're going to play over there. And that is going to set as a foundation, going to build on these terms that we've learned, and it will serve as a foundation. Now we take the models, those compliance framework itself. Now that we understand information security risk management, we have these terms. Now let's take the federal environment. How do you perform information security risk management? Then we go through that. It has to be a theory and practical. For all the models, theory, practical, assignment. Theory, practical, assignment. That's what I'll be doing. So that by the end of the class, when you take a job description and you are looking at it, you should be able to have confidence that this is what I'll be doing, this is what I'll do, or this is how you even have to present yourself to the people who interview you that this is what I do, because you have practiced it in class and you have also practiced it on your own, right? And I'll teach you with all those traits about how to present yourself. So, like I said, this night should be one of the shortest nights, and I noticed I was explaining a lot, so it has dragged a little bit, but that is all good. Any questions for me before we close for tonight? Any questions?
Yes. Will you post the videos from the the recording from this class tonight?
Definitely.
Will it be available?
Most of the times when I finish, within 30 minutes, the video become available and I share with everybody.
Okay.
Mr. Alex, is there any like a textbook or where we can go to to learn more or to expand our
I'll share. I mean, what we just did is just an introduction, right? So, like I said from the beginning, I'm going to create a WhatsApp group for this cohort of class, and it is solely for the class.
Okay.
Don't post anything that is not part of the class on the WhatsApp, right? And we keep that WhatsApp group. I've had classes that we did like 5 years. The concept of WhatsApp started like 5 years ago. We still have a platform. And when people get jobs, we post it there. Or sometimes somebody is working, you come across something that he doesn't, is not familiar, post it there, and other people are happy to jump on. Hey, okay, I have the same experience. I did it this way, blah, blah, blah. And so it's a network. You are becoming part of the bigger community of networks of people that are trained. And the good thing is, and the happier thing is that people that are trained, anytime my students need something, they are so happy. Yeah, everybody is happy to jump in to help. And so it's a big network you are joining. And I believe when you join, you get work, you will also be happy to help others in area that they have a question. So I'm going to put a book there. There's a e-book that I have that is really, really good. I have the hard copy here. I mean, I'll put the soft copy. I'll put a soft copy online, and also I can't find it. I have a lot of books over here. I can't find a book, but I'll put a soft copy there. And if you want, you can just search for it on Amazon, and you should be able to get it and buy it. So I'll give you a book,
All
right? That you can read and get more information about all that we're doing. I like that book because it gives a lot. It gives a lot of information and some guidance that help you practicalize all the things that we are learning here.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay.
Yeah, we're good. As we progress, we see how it goes.
Exactly.
So far, so good. Yeah.
Exactly. Good. Thank you so much. And we just want to say thank you for those of you who have made a commitment to be part of this class. And then a couple of people, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, right? So if I don't hear from you, today is Wednesday. By tomorrow, I will not invite you for Saturday's class because I'll send the invite out tomorrow